Our top story today, detectives searching for missing Gaynor Lord have released new footage of what they say is the last sighting of her on CCTV before she disappeared. The 55-year-old mother has been missing since she left work early last Friday.
Now, in a press conference yesterday, Norfolk Constabulary said it is likely she entered the River Wensum, but said they can't explain her behaviour from that day. Well, joining us now to give us the latest is former Metropolitan Police Detective Chief Inspector Perry Benton. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's an extraordinary story in many ways. The front page of the Daily Express this morning says mystery phone calls from missing Gaynor to a friend. It transpires there are two calls, one at 2:15, another at 4:15. The friend here, this is Julie Butcher, says she feels terrible that she couldn't answer that first question. What do we know? Because the timeline has now been outlined. She worked at Gerald's department store. She left there at 2:45. What do we know happened after that?
So first off, good morning, and my thoughts are currently with Gaynor's family, friends and loved ones. This is clearly a challenging and fast-moving investigation, and at the moment there are so many unknowns. I know from the CCTV that's been released, the last sort of sighting was at sort of 4:01 p.m. What we still don't know, though, is why she left work early. The police have indicated they have indications why she may have behaved the way she did, but this would really come from speaking to her friends and family and colleagues. Obviously, her friend talks about the missing phone calls. The last phone call was believed to be at 4:15, but obviously that doesn't appear to be an answer, and it believes to be a pocket call. For me, the worrying things are that her personal items have been found apparently scattered around Wensum Park. You know, her mobile phone, rings, glasses, and her coat was apparently found in the river, which is obviously one of the reasons why the police may have think she may be in the river, which is really tragic at this time of year.
Yeah, and the conditions of the river, given how much rain we have had, making the search operation there, Perry, very, very difficult indeed.
Yeah, so we're a week into the investigation, and I know there is an eyewitness at police, so they may have seen Gaynor doing some sort of yoga pose sort of on the river banks, which again is sort of unusual. But one of the things that the police will be focusing on is speaking to Gaynor's family, friends, colleagues, to try and understand what she was thinking. They'll be looking at her things like social media accounts, looking at her phone records, and trying to speak to anyone who may have had any contact with her in sort of the days and the weeks prior to her going missing.
And just in terms of what we do know, as you said, she left Bullard's Gin Counter, where she worked at Gerald's, about an hour and a half before she was due to leave. She actually exited that building via a loading bay. Also, you've released that CCTV footage. There are lots of things that strike me about that. She seems to be in a hurry. She crosses the road very quickly, avoiding the traffic. Can we draw any conclusions at all from what you've seen so far?
Well, I know that apparently she goes to the cathedral, and on some of the clips, she is seen to be sort of running quite quickly or moving quite quickly. So is she going to meet somebody? Is there somebody she's going to sort of speak to either by the cathedral? That is something that the police will be keeping an open mind of. They have to keep an open mind about what actually happened on that day. There are still quite a few number of gaps in terms of the CCTV timeline that the police will look to carry out sort of and review all the footage that they can. You know, we know some of the CCTV clips, there's like a 26-minute gap from when she's then found on the next camera. But for me, the leaving the work early, going by the way she did, and potentially sort of moving quite quickly on the streets, does appear that she may be looking to go and meet somebody. But that is something that the police will obviously look at and keep an open mind of. And like I say, telephone records and speaking to her loved ones and her family and her friends are going to be crucial at this moment.
Parallels being drawn with the Nicola Bulley case. But what lessons have police learned from that and the handling of that case by Lancashire Police?
So I think for me, obviously, the search is going to be very challenging. They're going to have been speaking to, obviously, the Nicky Bulley investigations regarding the search and the way they conducted the search and the strategy around that. I think also one of the biggest lessons that's been learned is around the media and obviously what information they can release to the media to try and generate as much information as possible. You know, the police will be seeking the public's help and the media's help in obviously trying to find any information about Gaynor and her movements and where she may be. And so I think they're going to be desperate to try and keep, whilst they're trying to keep the public informed and the media informed, they'll be very careful about how much information they do release to the general public. You know, the police will have so much more information at the moment than they are currently releasing to the media and to the public, because they have to keep an open mind. They have to be mindful of her family and her loved ones. And so whilst we're not being told everything at this stage, I'm confident that the police are doing everything they can to find, you know, what actually happened. But the search, like you mentioned, is quite challenging. You know, we know they've been using sonar. We know they've been using drones. I'm pretty sure they'll be using search dogs and other specialist search officers to sort of comb that park and search the river as best they can.
And I assume you want the public to get in contact if they have seen anything, if they have any sightings of her, or indeed if they can shed any more light on this case. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, Perry.